Welcome to the weekly wrap-up Q&A, healing from A to Z with Masterful U, me, and KB. This week's shows have been brought to you by the letter E: entitlement, expectations, envy, and empathy overwhelm. That was a good one. Empathic overwhelm, empathy overwhelm. I stumble on that because I always think empathic. Anyway, I am the lady with the questions, Judy Forder, and I am here with the lady with the answers, Miss
Chris Burke. Hi, everybody. Hi, Judy.
And I have the little setup over here. We are actually live on YouTube. Woohoo!
Whoa, that is such a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I just want to be clear that Judy asks great questions and she has the answers as well. Just to be clear.
We are happy to be live on YouTube because the past 2 Fridays just didn't happen.
No, it's really funny with technology. Everything is changing so quickly. And so we're using integrated pieces of software. And so when both pieces of software like move a couple of buttons, and the only way I know how to do it is to follow the directions exactly as I have them. And I go to push a button and it's not there. Doesn't work very well.
Yeah, last week we did a delightful show for the letter D.
We did.
It was over an hour?
Yes.
Yes, that was amazing. And did not go live at all. So
No, and did not record it. So it was a private show that we enjoyed.
It's very beneficial for us.
It is.
Okay, so let's jump right into entitlement.
Mm.
I saw because Chris and I don't talk about the daily things that you do. They come through you. So when I saw entitlement, I was like, ooh, that's gonna be a juicy one.
It's true.
And we actually had a comment. You had a comment on that show that it's interesting how entitlement shows up in your life, because when you hear the word, you think something very specific that I'm hearing has been sold to us. Yet it materializes in our lives in very different ways. So that was a very if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch it. The questions will help, but go back and watch that video too. All right, so the first one we have: how do I recognize subtle forms of entitlement in myself?
Yeah, I mean, the amazing thing about this healing journey is that I'm bringing all of these things to the forefront in my own mind. And I'm asking myself about them. And we were talking the other day about sort of dusting out the corners, right? Kind of going into the basement and being like, oh, I kind of thought I dealt with this, but now I see there's still some bricks and some spider webs and cobwebs and whatever here. Yeah. And it's like, oh, wow. So yeah, entitlement is it's an easy one to slip into because we really do have a society that says that people should be a certain way. And what's really interesting is that we've somehow been convinced, and I don't mean somehow like so mysteriously. It's on TV, it's in our families, it's in our churches. I mean, it's kind of in all the places where it says that the people in your life really ought to be behaving the way you want them to, and that if they're not, it's a problem that needs solving. Right. And so that just sets us up for all kinds of problems. And I know we're going to get to expectations as well, but entitlement is kind of that. It's like this expectation that people and, employers, the government, my family, whatever it is going to treat me the way that I want to be treated. And if they don't, then I'm almost obligated to be angry and feel resentful and that I've been victimized. Like, well, they should be who I want them to be. And if they're not, therefore I'm a victim. And the worst position we can be in as a human is to feel like we're the victim of other people and that we have no power to decide to make any different choices or to behave in a different way, to show up differently. Because if we don't have any choices, why even try?
Woe is me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So, what are some subtle ways entitlement showed up in your life that were surprising to you?
Well, I think I kind of just said it, like realizing all of the situations where I had actually been upset with people
Hmm.
because they hadn't been who I wanted them to be.
Okay. So, does that include, I mean, you mentioned parents, but what about your children?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
You owned your,
Absolutely.
so all of it, everywhere. You're like, everywhere. I sprinkled that shit everywhere.
I did. It was everywhere. It absolutely was. I mean, the way I would become sort of outraged, like very quickly, and we were talking about anger earlier today and how it's kind of bubbling up in these interesting places that it's even like, it feels a little bit like an overreaction. And yet realizing how many years I didn't even allow myself to express anger, right? And so it's like this outrage would come up because there was all this suppressed anger. And then somebody could do something like really small, and I would just be like, whoosh, like there'd be this volcano inside. And I'd be like, no, no, no. I got to put that, I got to shut that down, but it's still in my experience. And that's what's so important about these exercises that we do is that what we focus on creates our experience. Our experience is what creates our reality.
Hmm.
So if we're walking around with a bunch of suppressed anger, we're going to have a reality with a lot of opportunities to feel angry.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's going to, I'm seeing it scratching. It's going to keep scratching until we let it go.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. I mean, it is for our good, and we can see that. I didn't realize that I was walking around with a bunch of anger, honestly. I thought I'd pretty well, cleaned that out,
Hmm.
but apparently no. And I am grateful to know. I mean, that's the difference in this process, is that I actually want to know. So I'm like, okay, good, thank you. Now
Hmm.
that I know there's anger there, then I can cooperate with myself
Hmm.
in terms of letting it go.
Yeah. Yeah. A big thing for me is choosing to let it go in a healthy way,
Hmm.
which, whatever that looks like for you. When
Right,
I have a punching bag and I'll scream into pillows, whatever it looks like for
right.
you to get it out of the cells, because I feel like a lot of it's the cell memory, like you're saying, it's been stuffed down, so it's in there.
Yeah.
So a lot of what's being expressed now is old,
Hmm.
and when we talk about that, it doesn't mean that Chris isn't going to have new experiences that make her angry as well.
No, I mean, absolutely. It's just that the funny thing is that this fight, flight, freeze thing, our instincts, they're tricky because if we fight something and so let's say I get angry and I resolve it in the moment,
Mhm.
like somebody tries to take advantage or whatever the thing is, right? And I get angry and I stand up for myself and I'm like, no, we're not, here's why. That's unfair to me and I'm not going to allow it. That energy moves on along in the world. I just won the fight, if you will, right? Fight worked. It worked to process the energy.
Right.
Or if I get angry and I'm like, you know what? You're not my cup of tea. I'm out of here and I leave. Again, that energy was processed. Flight worked. I
Hmm.
got myself out of the situation. I took care of me in the situation. My instincts helped me with that. But if I fight and I end up just angry and frustrated because the other person doesn't bend, or I end up saying, oh, never mind, I don't want to make a big deal about it because I don't like this uncomfortable energy, or you end up staying in a situation for whatever reason when the thing that was in your best interest was to leave, that's when the energy gets frozen in our physiology.
Hmm.
And that's when we're in trouble. And when I say in trouble, I mean, like, I just mean we have unconscious, subconscious energy that needs to express itself. and we're not aware of it. So we think we're over here doing doody doody do, but our body's over here saying, hey, we got a cleanup need in the basement and we're working on that,
Hmm.
right? And we're going to get your attention with situations to clean that up until you notice.
Okay, so that perfectly leads into the next question. How would somebody know the difference between entitlement and healthy self-respect?
Hmm. So that's a really good question. You ask the best questions. Yeah. So entitlement is I expect you to be a certain way
Okay.
or a situation to be a certain way. It should conform to me.
Okay.
All right. And
Hmm.
self-respect is that person behaves the way they want to behave. And I put down a boundary or I say yes or no to it. I make a choice.
Ah. So it's not about power over making them conform to me. It's about me understanding that that's the behavior and I have the choice to engage or not.
Yes.
Hmm.
Imagine you work for a company and they don't pay you enough money.
Hmm.
And you're angry with the people because they don't pay you enough money. I see this a lot.
Hmm.
They should pay me more. It doesn't enter your mind when you're in a state of entitlement to go get a job that pays better or to go get some experience or some education or develop some skills or whatever that are more in demand so that you can get paid better. What entitlement does is you just stand there being upset. It's that fight, flight, freeze. You
Hmm.
get stuck in that energy of they should change. And when we're thinking somebody else should be different, it doesn't occur to us because we're stuck in instincts. It doesn't occur to us to say, hey, maybe I should do something differently myself.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing is something as simple as, have you asked for a raise?
Right. This
Because
is the
if you
thing.
haven't asked for a raise, then you don't know that they're not willing to pay you more.
That's right. But instincts don't ask.
Exactly.
Right? That's exactly the issue is the instincts don't ask. They
They,
will fight.
they assume, and we know
Yes.
what assuming does.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. They will fight. They will storm into the boss's office and say, blah, blah, this is unfair, blah, blah, blah. And, the boss is sitting there thinking, wow, you agreed to this three
Hmm.
months ago and you seemed happy with it. Never said a word. How do I know
Right.
that you're upset about it? Or, you can take this job and shove it and people walking out the door, that's flight.
Hmm.
The problem with this, and I said before that you can resolve it with that energy, but only if you follow through all the way to resolution, meaning you actually resolve your issue. If
Hmm.
you just go work for another boss and get angry again and leave again, I had a history of not being able to resolve issues with people. And because I didn't communicate what it was that I actually wanted or needed.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
felt like they should read my mind, and when they didn't, it made me mad.
Yes. In my house with Maddie, we played the no game because of that. It's like I can't read your mind. People can't read your mind. And it's one of those, they do it. And it's like, no, not that. Well, what do you want? I don't know, but not that.
Right. Right.
Like, go.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Hmm.
Yeah. So if we have to learn to tell people, but the thing with learning is that we can't be in instincts.
Hmm.
This is what on your experience is all about. When you're in that instinct experience, when you're in, we talk about the compass on a scale of 1 to 10. When you're less than a 2.5, you're running an automatic instinct pattern. You're not making choices, not because there's something wrong with you, but because that's how instincts have evolved to make sure that we survive in life-threatening situations. And your instincts are going to assume a life-threatening situation rather than not, because that would have kept you alive,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yeah. And whenever they're pulling, that instinct is all based on past experience. It's not
Yeah.
present, not future. It's all based in the past.
That's right. And when that tsunami of emotion comes up, like this happened with me yesterday, I got angry. And when the tsunami of emotion came up, I actually have to sit in that energy and like process it before I'm able to ask the question like, what was that about and how do I want to respond to this?
Hmm.
Right? Because that instinct energy, I mean, it came up, it takes over your experience, it shuts down your rational mind.
Hmm.
It takes over. It's like, no, we're going to make sure that you survive this moment. And then later, when the danger has passed or the threat has passed, you can sit down and you can contemplate it. If you're walking around with a bunch of suppressed energy, anger in you, then it's a lot harder to find that peace of mind time when you can sit and say, okay, what's the appropriate response? How do I choose to respond? Is this healthy? Am I putting down a solid boundary? Am I respecting myself? Am I communicating clearly? Right? These are all things that we can do to avoid needing to fight or flight or stuff our emotions. But we can't do them in the moment when the energy is up and we're blinded by it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. That's why there's so much power in the pause.
Yes.
Breathe.
Pause. My dog's right here. We love pause. Yes, power in the pause.
Power in the pause. Okay. I think we can cover that one with envy. So we're going to skip that. Are you good if we move on to expectation?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What's a healthy way to ask for something without expecting it?
It's as simple as that.
Mhm.
It is, right? And it fits with entitlement really well.
Mhm.
I mean, pretty much everything we talked about with entitlement also applies to expectations. Um, But it's to ask. It's to, instead of deciding that your past predicts your future. So this is an interesting thing happening in humanity these days, is that the past occurring again, projecting the past into the future gives us a sense of security.
Right.
Everything that's been happening is going to keep happening. That makes us feel secure.
Whether it's good or not, or well, whether it feels good or not.
That's the point. Exactly. So we might all grumble about how bad the past was. Oh, it was hard to pay my bills, and people were sick, and we had to do this, and we were all overwhelmed and working so hard. And my God, I hope nothing changes
Because I hate change.
because I hate change. Right? So that's where we get into this little bit of a pickle. There's a paradox happening there because we get security from expecting something to happen.
Mhm.
However, our experiences, and this is why we talk about own your experience, our experience in the present moment gets destroyed by those expectations
Mhm.
because we're actually expecting, oftentimes, we're expecting things that happened in the past to happen again, but be better this time.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
We always, it's pattern recognition. And, Chris and I always joke about patterns are patterns. They're going to continue to repeat until you learn the lesson. And
Yes.
it may look different, like lipstick on a pig, but it's
Mhm.
still the same pattern.
That's right. It's the same energy. And again, that's why we use the compass. If I'm running a pattern at a 3, the think, feel, do, the whole list of things. If I'm running a pattern that's a 3, and then I'm out in the world and I'm interacting with somebody and I ask myself, where am I right now? And I'm at a 3, I already know how that movie is going to end if I stay in that 3 energy.
Yep.
It can't be different because that energy contains the experience and the results. That's reality shapes itself to essentially the way we feel and what we know to be true, right? And then the think, all of those parts are part of the experience, but it's our experience that's actually causing the reality to shape itself. It's reacting to the way that we show up, how we are on the inside. It's reacting to that and reflecting it back. But here's the thing, not who you are, where you are in your experience. So if you're an instinct, it's going to show you like your vulnerability, situations where you're going to need to fight, flight, freeze, or you're going to feel like you do.
Mhm.
Point, like I'm teaching one of my horses right now how to pay attention to when her neck gets stiff, when something scares her, and her body goes tense, and her neck gets, really tight. I put my hand on her neck and I say, "How does your neck feel?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah, that's right." And she relaxes her neck, and then she doesn't feel afraid anymore. And because she realized that on her own, that, oh, you know what? When I put, like, relax my neck, her whole body relaxes. She doesn't feel afraid anymore. And then she feels more like herself and more confident. And it's just a better experience. It's the same with people, right? When we get into instinct, when our body goes, because it's connected.
Mhm.
So when we get angry, our body is tense.
Yeah.
They're working together. When we're in that place, we can only react in a way that's going to perpetuate that.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
know it sounds kind of, what's the word? It sounds esoteric. It actually isn't. It's very grounded when
Mhm.
you start to notice, where am I on this experience scale, and how is my environment? How are the people and situations in my environment matching that?
Well, I think the perfect example is, and I don't think Laura would object to me sharing, um, when we started the Own Your Experience class and we went through the compass and we focused on instinct, she and her husband were having an argument.
Right?
And because of her knowledge of the compass and her knowledge of instinct, she stopped and asked herself, where am I right now? And she knew that she was in fight or flight.
Right.
So she was like, there ain't shit going to be accomplished here. So she walked out of the kitchen and went and sat in the living room.
Exactly right.
Calm down. He calmed down. And then they came together and resolved the issue.
Right.
But
And
her stepping away allowed that to happen.
yes, and that was, you just answered your question, which is you have to change zones.
Mhm.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to ask for what you need, if you want to have an honest conversation and ask for what you need and listen to the other person's, where they're coming from,
Mhm.
you've got to be at least above a 2.5 and usually at least a 5. Because the intellect, whether we don't like it, but the intellect is going to defend the way it feels.
Right.
So it's going to kind of defend the instincts. It's going to grab onto that and be like, you did this to me. Not understanding that it was energy inside our own experience that was creating it. Can you hear my dog drinking?
Mm-mm.
Oh, good.
No. No, I
Quite
can't.
loud.
Yeah. Expectations are, I mean, expectations of others, expectations of yourself. Um, we have this whole fantasy that if somebody loves us enough or cares about us enough, they should be able to read our minds and know what we need and want.
Right.
Bullshit.
Right. Well, how many times in a movie or on TV have we heard people say, I shouldn't have to tell you?
Mm-hmm. You
Right?
should know if you know
Right.
enough.
Right. So we assume that we just take that in as truth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That's nice. People can read our minds if they care enough. And if they don't care enough, then we can be mad at them. And it lets us off the hook because now everybody else is responsible for the way we feel.
Yep.
The problem with that is that nobody else can do anything about the way we feel.
Right. And it's one of those things. I'm trying to read your mind, so I do this. No, that's not it. Well, what is it you want? I don't know.
Right.
But it's not that again.
Right. And what I actually want is not to feel the feeling that I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what to do about it.
Nope. I don't.
That's why we do Own Your Experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you do know what to do about the uncomfortable feeling, you just take care of it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Then you don't have to be mad at everybody. You don't need anybody to read your mind. You can actually read your own mind. And I mean, that's part of the exercise, right? Is to actually say, what am I thinking?
Mm-hmm. And when we hold expectations, we actually limit how people can show up in our lives. We limit what the universe can bring to us. You
Yes.
know, probably a year ago, 2 years ago, I'm in the middle of a session and we're talking about expectations. And I heard expectations are the cock block of the universe.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, that's catchy. That'll catch
Yeah.
people's attention.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. It's absolutely true.
I have
What you,
a sweatshirt on.
oh, that's funny.
Intentionally in cursive so our children can't read it.
That's right.
But yes, that's what they do. They limit what can come your way and how people can show up in your life.
Yes. Yes. If we decide, I remember somebody telling me years ago, like when you allow people to be different, when you decide, my parents are always this, or my spouse is always that, or my kids are always whatever, and you decide that. And the same is true of your animals, actually.
Mhm.
When you decide they are a certain way, you will see them as being that way, right? Even when they're not, even when they're like innocently going along through their life trying to just be human or be an animal, which is usually what's happening, you're standing there giving yourself a narrative that has them fitting into the storyline that you've created for them. Until we let go of that storyline, they can't show up differently. Even if they do, we won't be able to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually sets people free. And Maddie, I'm like, Maddie won't watch this, but her and a roommate were having some issues and it's been ongoing. And Maddie finally got to the point where she was like, we don't have to be friends if you don't want to be, but I need to be treated with kindness and respect,
Nice.
and put that out there into the universe. And the next time they were together in the apartment, oh my gosh, look at what happened. And Maddie was funny. She was like, I'm not holding a lot of hope, Mom. I was like, that's okay. I'll hold hope for both of us.
Yes.
And I got a text from her that said, I hate to admit it, but you were right again. And I said to her, it's just about you releasing that expectation of it being one way,
Yes.
freed her to show up in a different way.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And the energy,
Mm-hmm.
when you walk into the room and somebody's got their back to you, but they're mad,
Mm-hmm.
they don't even have to be mad at you. It's
Mm-mm.
like something happened and you walk into the room and you're like, uh-oh, instantly, right? Like, uh-oh, what's going on in here?
Mm-hmm.
Or people just had a fight,
Yep.
but you weren't there and you walk in the room and you're like, feels a little thick in here.
I think I'll go.
Exactly. We feel one another's energy and we respond to it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's happening at a subconscious level.
Yes.
So it can actually trigger our instincts. Like somebody can feel threatened by the fact that our energy feels prickly.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that's happening subconsciously and we're not aware of it. So by letting that go and saying, you know what, let me see what actually shows up in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
how we show up in the moment, then there were infinite options.
Absolutely. I mean, it blows the doors wide open.
It does. It does. And sometimes this is an important point. And sometimes you'll find yourself kind of gritting your teeth a little bit because you'd been playing somebody wronged me song, right, for a long time and been like angry about it and feeling so justified in that. It's one of the hardest things about ascending, up the compass of experience is that we actually have to acknowledge that other people aren't just here to please us,
Mm-mm.
and that a lot of our perceptions have been through filters that were, very limited.
Yeah. Filters based on wounds and trauma and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and drama. Drama is a big one because
Oh,
we
yeah.
were trained in drama.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours a day do people watch television? And television is, I mean, it's called drama,
Yep.
for a reason. And we see these patterns and they go into our subconscious and we think that's normal behavior. It's not, it's acting.
Mm-hmm.
And a human that's acting in their life and thinking it's going to match what we see in the dramas, in the movies or television, is going to struggle.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we have that. drama programming. We watch it and then we go and perform in life.
Right.
And what we talk about is, peace over performance,
Yes.
peace over perfection.
Yes.
Just be real.
Yeah.
And part of being real is being able to express what it is you would like in a relationship, whatever that relationship looks like.
Right.
With yourself as well.
Mm.
So, when you're somebody, and we're recovering people pleasers, when you're a people pleaser, it's not easy to find the courage to express what you want, what you desire, how you want to be treated. So, we understand. We've been there. I continue to work through this process.
Yeah.
Expectations I still hold for myself, whether it be spiritual or, everything is all related, all tied together.
Yeah.
But yeah, expectations get in the way.
They do.
Find the courage to express what it is you want. And then you get to see, can that person give you what it is you desire or not? And it doesn't make them good or bad. It just tells you, how close do you want them in your tribe?
Right.
We talk about the auditorium. You're on the stage. Who are your front row people?
Right.
And it doesn't mean that people can't slide rows back and forth. Some people lobby, some people are in a freaking parking lot.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's
absolutely.
your choice where you put them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's active. So instead of putting energy into trying to figure out how to deal with, all these problems created by other people, we're in a position where we can just be like, is that working for me?
Right.
Yes or no?
Yeah. And this whole cutting people out, canceling people, whatever. It's not about that, because people are growing and evolving.
Right.
So it's not about, you're dead to me.
Yeah.
This is not where you are right now in my life. And you allow the space for it to flow and grow.
Yeah. Yeah. We want to be really careful about pointing fingers and labeling people as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tell you, one of the things I learned on this healing journey, one of the reasons I say, name 3 times people have been envious of you, name 3 times you've been envious of other people, because if it's something you're experiencing in your life, the shoes fit on both feet.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just true. And we don't want it to be that way. And a lot of times we get really upset about other people's behavior because we know it's part of what it's in us. We recognize it.
Right.
But if I'm, blaming them and saying they're the bad person, I don't have to look at myself. Problem with that is if I don't look at myself, then I can't heal. And if I don't heal, then I keep having to live with people showing up, showing me what I'm not looking at.
Exactly. Life continues to be hard and painful and all those wonderful things.
Yeah. Yes.
And and I'm just hearing to throw this out there. If we're still looking at things as good and bad, it's a judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're judging other people, that's a sign that we're still judging ourselves.
Yes.
And that's a little prison that we put ourselves in.
It is.
So, okay, so perfect. You said envy. Let's move on to envy.
Excellent.
How can envy actually help me discover what I truly want?
Great question. Well, if you look at somebody else who's doing something or has something, experiencing something, and you feel envy, then that tells you, like, oh, you can ask yourself at least, is there something that they are doing that I want, right? That I'm telling myself I can't have.
That's the good one right there. Telling myself I can't have.
Right. Yeah. And it's one of the things that, like I've often said, I've found that I did have envy in places where I didn't think I did. And it made me annoyed um, because, it was actually because when I asked that question,
Mm-hmm.
like, is there something that they have that I want? The truth was no. But I want what I'm telling myself they have that they actually don't.
Okay. So what's the difference between envy and jealousy?
So In envy, it turns into hatred. So in envy, you actually want people to fail. And when they win, like you secretly want them to fail. You want them to fall on their faces,
Right.
right? And this happens in families a lot where, especially when there's a black sheep in the black sheep in the family, or when somebody takes a little bit longer to find their path and, the others are super achievers or whatever the thing is, then envy can be, I hope they fall, secretly, like, I hope they fall on their faces.
Oh, they're gonna learn.
Right. But it can go both ways because you can appear like a free spirit
Mm-hmm.
when you're somebody who's kind of finding your way and not locked into a train ride that you're going to be on until retirement.
Right.
So envy can be for lots of different reasons, but the point is that it's always because we're telling ourselves a story that isn't true. And if we ask ourselves, what is it about that story that is so appealing to me? And what makes me think I can't have that or prioritize that in my own life? Those are good questions.
Those are very good questions. Hmm.
Because that's built in, right? Like, oh, that person is such a free spirit. Da 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 da. Oh, do you value free spiritedness? Yeah, absolutely. Well, not for me. I mean, I can't, right? It instantly you get into that place where the soul or the heart, however you think of that, is kind of going like peeking around the corner and going, there's something about that that looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And the intellect is going, no, not you, right? We built our security here. We built this cage to keep us safe. And any deviation from living in life in this cage is going to blow everything up. So we're not risking it. And that's where we end up in conflict with ourselves. That our soul actually wants to evolve, wants to grow, wants to go in a certain direction. And our instinct and intellect are going, I don't think so. That doesn't sound safe.
Okay. So envy um, carries the energy of hate, frustration.
Yeah. And
Uh,
soul betrayal. It just popped into my
ooh,
head, soul
that's good.
betrayal. Yeah. And that's where the hatred really comes from.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Because we know we're betraying ourselves.
And jealousy is, I'm jealous they had the courage to do that. And I'm so happy for them that they did.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we might be happy for them, but we don't hate them for it.
We don't, okay.
Right? So you see
We
somebody
don't
driving
actively,
by, like I love convertibles, right? I see somebody, I have a pickup truck because I have horses and I need to carry hay around. I see somebody riding around in a convertible. Could I be jealous? Sure. I might be like, oh my God, it's a beautiful day, a perfect day to be in a convertible. They're in that convertible in this moment. Like, yeah, I would love to be doing that.
mm-hmm,
But that's where it ends.
right. Not, I wish you wreck your, no, none of those things.
Right. None of that. It's
Okay.
just, and that's a record. And I'll ask myself, right? And again, it's like, oh, is it important to me to do that? No, not really.
Mm-hmm.
But in this
In the
moment,
moment. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that looks good. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So what do I do when envy turns into self-loathing or insecurity?
Everybody is insecure. Everybody is insecure. Everybody is insecure. Everybody is insecure. You can't say it enough times because the more someone seems confident,
Mm-hmm.
the when they're wearing a mask. So
Mm-hmm.
let's go back to that performance thing. People who've done their work and will tell you what's in their basement, who they're struggling with, they're real and authentic. They're
Mm-hmm.
saying, yeah, being human is sometimes great and sometimes really hard, and I'm having the full ride, right?
Right.
I'm not trying to opt out of any of the experience. People who show up and are like, yes, I have it all planned out and I've got everything under control. um, Huge insecurity in the background there because the reason the mask has developed to seem so flawless is because there's such fear of people seeing the truth.
Mhm.
There's such fear that of being ridiculed or having affection withdrawn or, whatever like people not liking them if they ever saw the truth about them. And
Mhm.
all of this comes from little boy, little girl land. Right. So this is not, the people I'm talking about, and in business, you run into a lot of people who've learned to wear a mask. And over time, as I learned that the mask is deliberately hiding the thing that they're most vulnerable about,
Mhm.
but they don't know it.
Right. It's survival.
It is survival. Absolutely, it is.
Mhm. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like if envy has turned to self-loathing, if the fact that you would be watching this means that you're already tapped in and you know that there's a different way.
Yeah.
Own your experience allows you a different way. What are you thinking, feeling, doing? It's about really looking and asking, are these things real? Is this true? Is this true to who I am today? Because yes, we acquired all these things as survival techniques, but we don't need them anymore. If you're
Right.
here, you're realizing you don't need them anymore
Right.
and you want to make a different choice.
Yes.
Oh, I've said it a million times. The thing that helped me is the pause and question, is this true to my experience right now?
Yeah.
If it is, you go down one road. If it isn't, you go down another.
Right.
But just the fact that you stop and ask is extremely helpful.
Yeah, and you'll find out 99% of the time, no, it isn't because we don't know anything. I mean, that sounds just crazy, but most of the things that we tell ourselves we know, we don't know. We do pretend that we can read other people's minds. We pretend that we know what their intentions are. We pretend that we know, that group of people is good and that group of people is bad. It's like our whole society is built around pretending that we know things, those people are bad, those people are good, that we don't know
Mm-hmm.
and that don't apply. In fact, we were talking about group identity the other day in
Mm-hmm.
class. And we were talking about, is there anything that you can say is true of any group, including, like, let's just say, white American women?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that you can say that is true of 100% of those people? I mean, the idea that we're even creating that group and saying it's a real group of people is silly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Generalizations, stereotypes, all of those things. It's all about fitting in a box.
Yes, and separating people.
Yep.
Right? So we start making assumptions about, like, oh, I know about them. They are all like this.
Yep.
And that's my point. Whatever we say about a group, unless you've asked them and they've told you and you felt like, oh, that felt like truth to me, you don't know.
Mm-mm.
It's all a bunch of
Hooey.
stories, narrations that were, yeah. Yeah. That
And
would, because everybody agrees on it. It's like, oh, it's okay to say bad things about that group of people because, if you're in this other group, because everybody does it, it must be okay. And a lot of this own your experience is like, look at what happens to people when they buy into that. Is that what you want happening to you? Or do you want to stay in your own experience and be like, I think I'll reserve, my opinion? Like, forget judgment.
mm-hmm.
We don't want to judge people. How about get to know people? If you have questions, how about ask them, but also be willing to share your honest viewpoint on things.
Yeah. Get curious.
Yeah.
Get curious with yourself and with whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Whatever triggered that envy button in you. Get curious about it.
Yeah.
It's
And
like we
thank
said,
you for,
ask better questions.
yes, yes, exactly. And thank you for bringing it back. It's like I'm sitting here thinking, do I ever answer the question? Like it's, just because the energy, like I say what comes to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems always to be sort of this frameworky thing. And then Judy's like, well, I'll just answer the question for you.
We'll just wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to empathy overwhelm.
Hmm.
It was funny. I just saw a post on Facebook today. One of my Facebook friends was reaching out for information about empaths and how do you set boundaries and not carry other people's energy and all that kind of stuff. So this is great. How do I stop feeling emotionally drained by everyone else's problems?
Well, I mean, you learn to lay down boundaries. I mean, that was something that I had to do yesterday where, somebody was feeling nervous about something. And so it was like, oh, can you take all these extra steps so I don't have to feel nervous? And it was like, no, I cannot. If I tell you that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If that doesn't work for you, I don't know what to tell you. Right? Because when I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if for some reason I can't, I let people know. That's the way I operate. So this person was kind of like, well, I have trust issues. And it was like, I would work on that. Right? I mean, and this is about like own your experience. It's not, I have empathy for that,
Right.
but it's not mine.
To carry. Mm-mm.
No, because I can't make someone feel something other than what they feel.
Yeah.
And I know that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the empathy overwhelm is when we take responsibility for other people's emotions. And we're like, oh, if I just something enough, they're going to feel better. And that's because as children, we learned that when we were pleasing,
Mm-hmm.
parents, teachers, whatever, people in authority would be more pleasant.
Yeah. They'd be happy with us.
They would be happy with us, and being happy with us was just easier than having them mad at us. And so we learned to create that. But along the way, we thought that we were actually creating their experience,
Mm-hmm.
not realizing that it was often a manipulation, a subconscious manipulation where it was like, let's go back to the entitlement. I expect you to behave the way I want you to, not to be a human with a full experience going on that you can talk to me about and we'll work through,
Mm-hmm.
right? And learn to process, but I actually want you to be what makes me most comfortable in my skin.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are, I will reward you. And when you are not, I will punish you.
Mm-hmm.
That is, it's conditioning.
It's domestication.
It is. Yes. Yes. We become domesticated, conditioned to actually believe that we are responsible for other people's emotions. And that's where we end up in this empathetic overwhelm,
Yeah.
empathy overwhelm. Yeah.
People pleasers. That's what you do. You run
Yeah.
around believing that you can make, as long as you can make everybody else happy, then you can finally be happy.
Right.
And if that means carrying the burdens of everybody that you love, then you carry them.
Yeah.
And I know for me, when I first started this spiritual journey, I had to learn what my own energy was because I didn't even know. It was so intertwined with everybody else's because of me doing the people pleasing thing and all that kind of stuff that I didn't even know what my own energy felt like.
Mm-mm.
And in order for me to get there, I had to spend some time with me.
Right.
Which was interesting because I didn't like spending time with just me. I was the one that was always busy, always out doing things, seeing family, seeing friends, babysitting for friends, babysitting for family. Always, always so busy that there was never time for me to just sit with me. And even if I was home, I had a TV on. Mm-hmm. I had something running in the background so I didn't have to be with me.
Right. Right.
So when you take all that out and you allow yourself to sit in the silence, you get to start to recognize, because it's a matter of remembering. I started to recognize something.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what it was,
Mm-hmm.
but it felt very different than carrying everybody else's stuff.
Absolutely.
And then when, I would go out or be with people and do that instinctual thing of taking it on and then come home, I would feel certain ways that didn't align with my, mental emotional state, but it felt heavy. Do I have anything to feel heavy about? No, not right now. Then what is this?
Right.
So it starts that whole questioning pattern. And one of the biggest things that came to my attention during a circle time with Katiana was she looked at me and said, "What makes you think you have the power to make other people happy?
Mhm.
That's very arrogant of you, isn't it?" And I was like, "Arrogant? Nobody would ever describe me as arrogant."
Right.
But
Right.
it is.
It
It's
is.
very arrogant to think we can control what other people feel.
Yes. Yes. And they can't. It's this, I can take care of it because I know you can't.
Exactly.
That message. And it's not intended.
Mm-mm.
We have no idea. That's why we talked about this stuff being subconscious.
Mm-hmm. The
Yeah.
fixer. The fixer is coming to mind because when we fix everything for everybody else, we don't allow them the opportunity to learn how to fix it themselves.
Right.
So whereas we're like, yes, we're the problem solver, we can blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah, we didn't understand until it came to clarity that by doing that, we don't allow them to learn and emotionally mature.
Right. And there's also the envy thing that comes in. So if you're somebody that kind of shows up on your white horse and helps people out,
Mm-hmm.
people can feel envy
Mm-hmm.
and actually hope that you fail
Yeah.
and look for evidence that you're failing because you're the one that always seems okay. You always seem like you have the answers, like you have the time, like you have the energy, like I can do it. I can do it. I'm not afraid.
Right.
Right? So you show up in that energy, but remember what I said earlier about the mask. The more somebody is showing up in the energy of I've got it all together, I'm not afraid, when it's performance, when it's a subconsciously driven performance, the more they really are afraid, the more we were afraid, the more we were like, please don't reject me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to be on my own in this world.
Yeah. Is there a such thing as being too empathetic?
Yeah, I think there is. I think there's empathy that is, and I'm not sure that it's empathy. You know what I mean? Like, I think there is telling yourself that you're a really good person because you jump in and try to rescue people. So you're telling yourself like you're caring about the other person. Because of the way our minds work, it can be that what we're actually doing is trying to boost our own self-esteem by telling ourselves that we care more than maybe we really do.
Mm. Okay.
Because if I recognize that every person is responsible for their own emotions,
Mm-hmm.
we can't change a person's emotions. We can sit with them, we can hug them, we can listen when they cry or when they grieve or when they whatever. We can sit with them and hold support. But when we take that on as if we're the ones that have to fix it for them, then it becomes a whole thing about I can, they can't, I'm good, they're needy. There's all this stuff that it can be, I like to say ego games.
Mm-hmm.
We fool ourselves a lot. I think that's the hardest thing about being human is that a lot of times we're saying to ourselves, like, oh no, I have the best of intentions. I'm a good person. Everything should work out for me. And
Mm-hmm.
as I said, healing from A to Z, as I'm going through these things, I'm like, yeah, I still got some of this stuff happening that I'm not aware of because it's been part of my patterning
Mm-hmm.
for as long as I can remember. I don't know myself without it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when these things come up, I look at them and go, is that like authentic, legit, honest? Or is that me trying to fulfill my self-image? That's why Own Your Experience works.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking, what am I really thinking?
Now, you were one that when you were growing up, weren't you told you were too sensitive?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was told that I was too sensitive. And it's funny because my sensitivity is a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It wasn't that I was too sensitive. It was that I believed too much BS. There were too many things that I was told about being human that simply aren't true.
Hmm.
I didn't have any way of knowing that they weren't true. And so I took it to be true.
Right.
I don't believe that we can be too sensitive. I believe that we can get ourselves into situations where we're being drained
Hmm.
because we're not aware of the truth of the situation.
That's huge right there. Being an empath is, it's only too much when you haven't learned not to carry everybody else's shit.
That's right. And that's ego stuff. And not to bash, not to bash the ego, but
Mm.
it's like, because again, each part of us is doing its job,
Right.
right? But yeah, if you, a lot of times where I mean, how many times did I say this week just in conversation? When you're gaslighting yourself,
Hmm.
right? We all do it. And it's much nicer to say these people are draining me than it is to say I'm not providing myself with good boundaries. I'm not respecting my energy.
Yeah. Yeah. We call it energetic hygiene. But before we tap on that, how can somebody um, sit with someone, uh, listen, and not carry the other person's pain?
Start with own your experience. Own your experience, own your experience, because you can't do it until you're okay in your skin. Truth.
Hmm.
And,
We talk about holding space.
mhm,
Holding space is listening.
mhm.
You sit, you hold the space, you listen. If they would like guidance and you have guidance to provide, then you give it. But when then that conversation is done and they leave, you make it very clear that that is their pain that goes with them. You are not to carry it.
Yeah, if you're able to do that. And what I mean by that is, until you own your experience, you're acting out subconscious patterns.
Mm-hmm.
We've got codependent relationships. We've got all these patterns where people are used to us playing a certain role in their emotional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to keep playing that emotional role until we clean up our own internal experience and we become aware of it and we take responsibility for it. Because in that process of taking responsibility for yourself, you become very clear. I'm not responsible for other people's emotions and I can't do anything about it anyway.
No.
Right? So when you're really clear, and that's through the process of owning your own experience, it just becomes clear to you. I'm not responsible for them. And then we go on to own your interactions. And that's when you can start to practice with other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I know for me, until I got clean with myself, I couldn't sit with somebody else without falling into the pattern of either rescuing or being annoyed or,
Caretake.
I was reacting to
Mm-hmm.
their experience and like, hear this. I made their experience in my head about me. And then I reacted to it because that's what I did with everything and everybody. And that's why I say I don't think we can do it. I until we realize my experience is happening in here and that person's experience is happening in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can support them in working through their experience. I can believe in them. I can have hope and faith, and I can listen and all of those kinds of things. But until I own my experience or whatever version of that you have going on,
Mm-hmm.
the natural pattern for most people is to just make their whatever's going on about you.
Yeah. I'm just hearing, and if you find yourself making that person's experience about you, you know that you are taking on their energy and you're not holding space successfully.
Right. Right. But it's such a hard thing to do, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
because we've been doing it. We've been practicing our whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they do that, and then I do that, and then inside I'm going, "Oh God, what time is it? Well, here goes today. I was going to do this other thing, and now I'm sitting here with them." And Thank God I'm not them because their life's a mess. And I mean, all of this internal dialogue that happens is what I mean when I say we make what's happening for them about us.
Right.
We become victims of them having an emotionally hard time.
Okay.
Until, yeah.
Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, until we can sit with somebody and really know that they need support. We all need support.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's they are the ones that can do this. We're just going to let them know they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And the only job we can play is that they're not alone.
Yeah.
It's a big job, but in that process of you're not alone, it's got to come from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it comes from telling ourselves some story about what a good person we are for showing up, we're not helping them in the way they need to be helped because we're not showing up in the energy that they need to feel genuinely supported
And safe.
and safe.
And safe. That's the biggest thing. If you're turning around and making everything about you, that's not providing a safe environment for either one of you.
Right, right. And how many times in class? I mean, this is a hard one. It's a really hard one
Mm-hmm.
because in class, people would show up and they would be really upset about whatever was being processed. And, and people would think that I was cold in that I didn't jump on that and blow it up into a big thing
Mm-hmm.
because it was like I know that we experience what we focus on. If I focus on my pain and I put all of my energy into my pain and I create my experience that's all about pain, I know my reality is going to deliver more pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know that is true. And so when the pain shows up, I acknowledge the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talk about how do we move forward? How do we process this pain? How do we let this go? What do we need to know? What do we need to do to move through this in a healthy way? Because we want to start thinking about the life that is pain free.
Mm-hmm.
We want to focus on the positive thing. In our society, we're used to people, everybody jumping in and like, let's have what the saying, misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
If we're all miserable, we're not able to create lives we love. And if we can't create lives we love, we can't celebrate with one another. And when one person breaks free and is able to celebrate, it just creates envy, right? See how we're all locked in to this thing. So we have to think about when that's why we really need to separate ourselves and make sure that when I hold space, I want it to be for, I know that the thing they're going through right now, the pain they're having right now is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to know they're not on their own, and I want to hold their hand while they walk into the sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very much about empowering them because we can't do anything. We can't heal people. We can't do anything. We can't make them feel a certain way. Letting them know that they are safe, they are not alone, and they have the power to make other choices.
Yeah. And it's okay. I mean, another piece is that it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel miserable. It's okay to spend a couple of days feeling like you can't get out of bed. It's okay to be human,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's part of it. It's not like, okay, snap out of it. You should be moving on. It's very much about be where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sit with you in that with no judgment.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you should be any different than you are. And I'm not going to pump up your pain with you
No.
because I don't want you to have to get stuck in that.
Right. That loop. It's an emotional loop.
It is.
The I'm hearing that, own your experiences about being able to identify your own patterns.
Mhm.
Because when you can identify your own patterns, that gives you that window to truth.
Yes.
This is the truth of what's happening.
Yes.
And in that truth, you can make different decisions should you choose.
Yes.
But choice is the key.
Yes. And we were talking the other day about how the heart energy will always do what it knows is right.
Yep.
It just does. It doesn't think about the consequences. What if people are mad at me if I do this? Or, last time I did this, people were mad and I had to defend myself, whatever the things are. It doesn't do that. It just does what it knows is right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of own your experience too. That last question you ask, what do I know is true?
Mm-hmm.
And as we move up the compass, we become more and more able to know what our intuition and inspiration, our higher energies, know is true. And so we can act from that alignment.
Hmm.
And that makes a difference because then you have the confidence of like, yeah, now I know that what I'm doing is win-win. It's good for me and it's good for the person that I'm supporting.
Hmm.
I'm not sacrificing myself. I'm not expecting something from them. I'm not pumping up my own ego by what I'm doing or not doing with them. I'm just doing what I know is right for both of us.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, I'm going to add this tidbit. If you're a newly discovered empath and you're trying to figure out how to clear the energy, again, I say spend time alone with yourself
Mhm.
in silence.
Mhm.
Ask yourself questions. Any questions that come up, ask and listen for the answers, because it's in that silence, the whispers of that internal, I like to call it, we call it the internal GPS.
Right.
That's where you can start to hear things. And what you're working to do is have that line of communication with yourself, with your heart space expand. And
Mhm.
as you do that, you understand what your energy feels like more and more.
Mhm.
So when other external energies are influencing that, you will realize it sooner rather than later. And there are steps that you can take to clear your energy field.
Yeah, and you may not feel it. I mean, that's the other thing. Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, in the early days, I would hear like, "Oh, you'll feel it."
Mm-hmm.
I would think, "I'm not feeling anything." Right? So I don't think I was in my body for the first, I mean, like I was living in my head is my point.
Uh-huh.
Was closed because there'd been a lot of pain,
Mm-hmm.
disappointment or whatever, because of the expectations, the whole thing, everything we're talking about, right? And
Right.
so I was living really solidly in my head and I was oblivious to the energy of what was happening. It wasn't that I didn't feel it, it was that I wasn't aware that I was feeling it. My focus wasn't there.
Right.
So if that's the case for you, like, oh, gee, I'm not feeling anything. That doesn't mean you're not an empath. It just means that you're not connected to that sensation at this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hmm. I forget
It's
where
like
I'm.
people saying I don't feel anything, right? Like people saying you ask people their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, especially in business, ask them their emotions. I'm not feeling anything.
Is it immediately? Is that true?
No,
You feel nothing?
right. I mean, the thing is, it is true. They're not feeling the emotions because they've blocked them, they've shut them down, but they are reacting to the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not aware of them.
Right.
Right? All of the things, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, our body sensations, our knowing, all of it is happening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if we aren't putting our focus there, if we aren't allowing our awareness to notice it, then it's happening beneath our awareness. That's what subconscious means.
Right.
It's still contributing to our lives and to our experiences, but we don't know it. So that's where you get into trouble is that when people say, I don't feel it, I don't sense it, I don't know it, whatever it is, it's like, no, you're not aware that you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why quiet time is important.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. And then, energetic hygiene. That's something that you can tap into and look into. There's a lot of talk about grounding now and getting your feet in the grass and all that kind of stuff. Hug a tree,
Yeah.
all these things that will help clear your energy field. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot. Epsom salt baths, things like that. Uh, it's a good place to start to clear out what you can and then be like, okay, what's mine?
Right. Right.
Okay. Well, I believe we've gone over an hour. We have been
Oh,
live the entire time. We
wow, that's shocking. Yay.
Is there any ending pearl of wisdom you would like to leave our viewers with?
Um, no, just keep showing up for yourself.
That's the challenge. And we understand how challenging that is.
We do. I mean, it's easy to fall back into patterns and just go back to, I'm just going to keep going the way I've always been going and keep trying to change what's happening, the people and situations in my outside world directly. Even though it's never worked, I'm going to keep trying. That is an approach. But if you're here, the odds are good that at some point you've realized, oh, you know what? That isn't actually working. And you want to do something that does work. And what does work is to get really clear internally about your experience, because that's what's creating what's coming next.
Amen. We do have the power to create our reality. As we said earlier this week when we were chatting, we have created it all along. It's just been created unconsciously.
That's exactly the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do create. People talk about manifesting. You're already manifesting your reality.
Yep.
It's coming from your experience. The question is it intentional?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it happening because of all of this unconscious stuff we're talking about that you're just not connected to anymore?
Right. All right. So I will intentionally bid everyone a wonderful weekend.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for showing up for us today.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. This is amazing.
Yeah. Thank you, Judy.
All right.
It was fun. We actually got one we got a live one. Those are good questions. Next week we're doing the F's, so that'll be interesting.
Will there be any F-bombs? No.
No.
But I guarantee it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's right. That's
All right. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.